In today's video, I wanted to do something a little different. We talk so much about the charts, about the singles, stuff that's moving right now. I want to talk a little bit about the future. I want to talk about Journey Together and to a certain extent, Destin Rivals. Where do we think those sets can go? What are the prices going to be like? We're going to talk about that a little bit. And I want you guys to, if you can, play along and leave a comment below. We're going to start off with the booster box, the Journey Together booster box. Where do you think that the Journey Together booster box is going to go? Say within the first like 3 to 6 months ish. And, this is what we have right now because we do have solid information that I do think is relevant, and we can kind of paint a little bit of a picture for the demand. We know the demand is for Pokemon in general at an all-time high. There's nothing on shelves. There's hardly anything at the Pokemon Center. It's hard to get product in general, right? And this is what we're seeing for pre-orders for the Journey Together booster box. Now you can see the price right here, 216, pretty consistent price. And this is what I wanted to talk about the numbers a little bit because they have this 1 month snapshot that I do think is interesting. You can see how many have sold. 3,061 of these booster boxes have sold in the last month. And you can see the price has come up, right? We're up 13%. It's come down a little from its shoot up, right? It was down here, in the 180s, 190s. It shot up to 220, and then it's tapered down just a little bit down to $216. Now, something else that we can kind of pull a little bit of information from is they're selling about almost 100 boxes per day on TCGPlayer. 99 boxes, right, at 216. You can see the last solds, they're all 216.20, right? So, very consistent sales, and you can see that's kind of where everything's at. You do see, how as the listings go on, right? We're still a little ways out from release on this. You can see like sellers have 36 boxes, 43 boxes, but then the prices start to go up. And, something worth noting real quick too is how the pre-orders do work on TCGPlayer is only brick and mortar stores can sell during this pre-sale period. So keep that in mind. However, this is matching up with what we're seeing on eBay, and we'll pull that up and we'll talk about that. But something to talk about. While this is the newest set, this is the hottest set. I'm not saying that this is what we're about to talk about is a one-to-one comparison. I get these other sets have been out for a while, but it just once again paints a little bit of a picture, right? So if we're seeing 216 now, there's been some talk I've seen around, is Journey Together going to be a $300, the first Scarlet and Violet era box to hit $300? So that's kind of what we're talking about potentially. So let me know like where your guesses are. Like where can this box go? And we're gonna compare. We're gonna look at some other Scarlet and Violet sets. Like right now you have your Paldea Evolved. It's kind of regarded as one of the best sets of the era, and price wise, a little bit more expensive in the 220s. But if you pull up the monthly sales right here, right, and I know that's not the newest set, right, so that's where it's a little different, right, it's not the new hotness, right, I get it, but you can kind of understand, 683 total sold in the past month, similar gains, up 15%, up almost 14% right here, 22 per day being sold. And you can see actually a lot of boxes right here on February 27th, 118. So just gauging the amount of boxes moving through TCGPlayer right now. Obviously, the new set is going to be in the highest demand, and that makes sense, right? 3,000 sold in the past month comparatively to just 683 from Paldea. Similar price point, right? And then you have, like Twilight Masquerade, another popular set. People like chasing the Greninja, the Eevee. You can see what's been sold in the last month. A little bit more expensive, right? 230 a box, but we're seeing 472 boxes being sold in the last month with a daily average of 15 boxes per day, right? I think a lot of people like Twilight Masquerade now. I think that Greninja, really is pulling the weight there. And the Eevee, once again, the Eevee rolling into Prismatic, the Eevee hype. I do think that benefits the set as well. And then you have the most expensive box right here. You got your Surging Sparks at 260, 263, and you can see in the last month, six more expensive. The more expensive a box gets, usually the less sales that there are on it, depending, right? That's not a golden rule, but 641 in the last month sold with around 21 per day. So just to give you an idea of kind of a little bit of the market sentiment. Like we know the market's hot, and when we talk about this set, at least in my opinion, not that this set can't do well. Obviously, it's doing well, right? And the market is so strong that it's gonna perform well. But when I look at this set, just from a collecting standpoint for me, and everyone has their different tastes, their different ebbs and flows of what they like, but I kind of view Journey Together kind of as a mid set, and maybe it's not mid, maybe it's just in the context of coming right after Prismatic. Anything would kind of be looked at as a step down, so maybe I'm seeing it through that lens. Let me know if you guys are kind of doing that as well. I know there's a lot of people who are excited, and there's a lot of people who have been vocal about like, oh, this art style is unique for the booster box, and I really like it. So I'm seeing a lot of positivity about the set, and there's some great cards in the set. There are some cards I'm very excited for. But as a whole, for me, it just doesn't. There's not a ton for me personally. I'm more the Destin rivals. With the Team Rocket and the Ethan's Ho-Oh and some of those other cards that we haven't even seen. That's where a lot of more of my hype is coming from. If I'm being completely honest, as the collector fanboy side of me, right? The investor side of me thinks that it can do well. The market's going to carry, right? The market, I think, we're starving for new product, right? So it's going to get eaten up, yeah, and that makes sense. So the investor side of me, I don't skip sets anymore. That's a thing that so in the past maybe would have overlooked some sets when the market was cooler, waiting, focusing on the more popular sets kind of made sense at the time. But now, you never know print runs and all of that stuff. So, if we're already seeing 216 pre-order boxes, obviously a leg up on surging, you know, um, comparatively too. If we zoom out here on surging, you can see how far out do we have to go. Pre-release pricing, was 150, and it came back down to 120. 116 was the low, around 120, and then obviously it shot up very quick. But Surging Sparks now setting another, like, it sets the precipice for Scarlet and Violet era boxes. So it is interesting to think that even looking at it potentially as a lower to mid set, releasing when it is, right, releasing in the midst of the hype, maybe it's a possibility, especially when we run through this initial supply. And if you're talking reprints, when would a reprint even be? We're already talking about a reprint of a set that's not even out yet. So that's kind of wild. So potentially, I see where there's a world where these could hit those prices, but it's kind of one of those things where it is super hard to speculate. So that's why I kind of wanted to talk about, like, I'm not throwing the crystal ball on too much here, but it is a fun thing to talk about. It'll be interesting to see if it gives Surging a run for its money. I think that, like I said, for me, Surging has a little bit more on the collecting side of me that I like. So I think it's a little bit stronger of a set. But so we'll have to see if it can overtake Surging, and if it does, how quickly will that happen? Now, there's other aspects of Journey Together to talk about as well. There's the PC ETB side, which if you look on TCGPlayer, like I said, these are where the numbers are a little skewed. You can see right here, there's not really very many sales because not people can't list them, right? It's brick and mortar stores, and you see the pricing, right? The pricing's inflated for the PC ETBs because if we go over to the eBay side, which we have towards the end of the video, we'll pull up the eBay side. You'll see that the PC ETB pre-orders on the secondary market are much more affordable, right? And we saw this with Prismatic, right? We saw them at the gate at the $400 box, and then they dropped down. Okay, so I would assume we're going to see the same thing here with the Pokemon Center ETBs, right? This being the first booster box set since Surging, I do think it's interesting because, like, Prismatic being a specialty set, no booster box, just the PC ETBs being the big one, and then regular ETBs carrying a lot of weight for that set as well. So this is kind of where we're at on TCGPlayer for this. I don't want to touch on it for too long. The regular ETBs as well, we can kind of get a little bit of a vibe for that. The last month, 1,500 regular ETBs pre-ordered on TCGPlayer. About 51 per day. So that's kind of, about half of what we're seeing in relationship to the booster boxes, right? So and these have been about $90. They've been coming down a little bit recently. You can see there was a dip right here. Looks like somebody offloaded a bunch in the 80s, but pricing just falling down very slowly. But ETB pricing coming down. We saw that with Prismatic after release. The release happened, and the boxes kind of came down rather quickly. Then they hit a bottom, and now they're starting to run up again. So once we might not see a ton of movement on the booster box, any of the sealed product, right? Until the supply comes and then it gets gobbled up. So regular ETBs, that's kind of where they're at, $89. I'm sure if we pull up, you can see not too much variance here. 90, 89, 87. That's kind of it. Um, and lowest listed right here, right at 89 at market. So for that, so pre-order is not too crazy for the regular ETBs. In all honesty, it's more of the booster box that I'm more interested in. This being a booster box set, so and having that box topper being a new thing. Well, not a new thing coming back, an old thing coming back. So that's nice to see, and that'll be a very interesting thing that I want to keep an eye on. That promo as well. So that's what we have, kind of for the information that we have. Speculating further, I do think it's way too hard to put a number on it, but it is fun. Um, you know, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it surpasses surging. Maybe it doesn't. Your guys' guess at the end of the day is as good as mine. Nobody can really predict the market right now. But also the eBay side. You can see, just to reference again, 216 right here on TCGPlayer, and now the eBay side is a lot closer for the booster boxes. You got a 195 here, you got a 200 plus $8 shipping, so you're at 208. You scroll down a little bit, 200. You do have this one, UK as high as this. I don't know what's going on, 250. Then you got a 220. This one's like 220 with shipping, a 250. 240 for booster boxes, 190, 235. So a little bit varying on the eBay side, but kind of right there. Maybe a few bucks cheaper from Pete Football Pete here. No ton of sales. Very big reseller here on eBay. If you're not familiar, Pete Football Pete. It traditionally has some of the lowest pricing on booster boxes that we've seen in the past from Pete Football Pete. So that does make sense that he would be the seller undercutting the market. I believe they deal in very, very large quantities. So yeah, I don't know what their distribution pricing looks like. It'd be interesting to get an inside information on kind of that, but they do big amount of sales. So that does make sense why it's a little cheaper, than the TCGPlayer side. And then so this is where the difference is, and we've talked about this before in the past, but the difference in the PC ETBs, eBay to TCGPlayer, is drastic, right? You're at 150 plus shipping, so we can call it 160 on here. A 180. This one's like 170. Looks like 2 for 300, so 150. So you can see where this is going, right? This one's a little less for 2, but kind of consistently around that $150 mark. So it'll be interesting to see if this comes down. The promo maybe not quite as desirable when compared to Prismatic. The EV going to be a lot more sought after than the promo for this set. So that's kind of where we're at. I think the PC ETBs will continue to dominate the space as well. But this is one where I'm kind of like keeping an eye on them neck and neck. So that's kind of the information that we have currently for Journey. As we do creep up, as you're watching this video, it will be release month, but still a ways out in March. So that is an interesting thing. Then if we want to play even, once again, it's so hard to do, a further speculative game. Let's do this too. Drop in the comments where you think the Destin Rivals is going to land. We'll talk mainly about the booster boxes because I feel like that's the most fun. Because I think the PC ETB is heavily indicative on the promo. It'll do well, but it depends on what promo. Like that one could be wild because we do have the Team Rocket side coming into it. And then there's a lot. The Heatwave Arena side is the Japanese side of the non-Team Rocket set, and that's what we've seen the most of so far. And it's pure speculation on the Team Rocket side, but that is the one I think first set in a while that's had me pretty hyped. I think probably collecting wise, since not that I haven't enjoyed the new sets releasing, but the Team Rocket stuff really has me kind of on the edge of my seat personally. And I think probably since 151, if I'm being completely honest, for this era, I've enjoyed a lot of the sets throughout, but um, yeah, I think I have to be honest with myself. 151 to now Destin Rivals, I think, is the first one. Potentially for me, being a big Gyarados fan, getting that Misty's Gyarados. I don't know if we're gonna see a Giovanni's Gyarados. That would be too good to be true. I think. But so, anyways, we don't know enough about the Team Rocket set, so that's where it's really hard. But um, it'll be interesting to see how the market takes in this set because the prismatic, even if you go on like Google search trends, like how popular Pokemon has been recently, Pokemon cards and prismatic, evolution, the search quantity and everything, and just the popular prismatic was just like such a vertical rocket ship taking off. And then I feel like we've kind of, while there's tons of other things still moving, still happening, other boxes going up, but I feel like that hype, while it's still there, it has come down off of that release hype, and then we're kind of coming into Journey where I feel like it's going to flatten out a little bit. Still be there. I think people will still be excited, and then maybe things kind of cool off. Uh, to a certain extent. Once again, I understand we're in a crazy market right now. I'm not saying that the market's like going to be done right now, but I just mean a little bit of the hype. I think it dies off a little bit until the Destin Rivals, and then I don't know. Potentially, if we see some really good Mewtwo stuff paired with some other cards, I mean, it could be near or exceeding prismatic hype potentially. And once again, maybe I'm biased looking, one of my favorite sets being the Team Rocket set, the vintage set. Maybe I'm looking through rose-colored glasses here with this. I know that there's some people who will align with me and some people won't, but it'll be interesting. So, like I said, I want you guys to, in the comments, to give me as much information as you can. Let's have a little bit of a conversation in the comment section and kind of gauge where everyone is at, right? If that makes sense. So, because I do think, if we're talking a $300 booster box, I'm leaning towards Destin Rivals being the first one to do it. Now that's still a ways out. Maybe Surging can do it, or this set does it. This set would do it very quickly. That would be rather fascinating. Um, so either way, regardless, I think it's an exciting time. It can be frustrating, getting your hands on product and stuff, and there's a lot of newcomers coming in right now, bouncing off, and I get that. I do feel bad for people just coming in now, but very exciting times just to kind of see where things end up, like how things play out is kind of fascinating. So that's kind of what this video was about. I don't know if that made sense, but it's a little bit like speculative, talking about what we know. I just kind of wanted to like, you know, I put more of my money on Destin Rivals if I had to bet, which is my plan. I don't know how the pre-order situation really is going to go. There was some when they were calling it just Team Rocket. There was like Forge and Fire Gaming had some pre-orders up at MSRP. Unfortunately, that I missed. So that was kind of a thing. Like, it might be hard to even pre-order Destin Rivals at MSRP. So, and I'm kind of been a big one of like, well, if you can't get it at MSRP for new sets, and this is something I just talked about recently on a stream. Destin Rivals might be the one set that I might be willing to pay a little bit more for. So we'll have to see how it all shakes out. So it's just an interesting time, but yeah, I think Destin Rivals potentially take the cake for me as the set of the year. For sure. But once again, that's all speculative. Hoping that they don't butcher the set and they do the Team Rocket side justice. So hopefully they will. You got to have at least a little bit of faith in the Pokemon company for that. Maybe they're not going to print enough of it, but hopefully the Team Rocket, I think they know what they're doing as far as generating hype at this point. So that's all I got for you guys in this one. It was a little bit of Journey Together speculation, a little bit of Destin Rivals. Hopefully it wasn't too boring. A little different style of video. So yeah, and let me know in the comments. I'll try and engage you guys in the comments a lot. I'm going to be traveling tomorrow, so when this video goes live. But when I get back, I'll try and get back to everyone on the comments. So I think that'll be fun. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. And remember, it was never a phase.